Caroline Jengo for Prime Edition.
So once you have humans...
All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We really do apologize for that long break, but we are going to move on with our show right now. We are getting into the second interview, and today I told you we'll be talking about sexual and gender-based violence, just addressing some of the gaps in interventions and see how we can be able to address this vice in the society. And joining me in studio to have this very important conversation is Honorable Mary Ariviza Mwami, a nominated member of County Assembly in Nairobi. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for creating time for us.
Thank you.
All right. So just looking at the Nairobi County alone, and this does not mean that the number of gender-based violence cases nationally are not anything to worry about, but just looking at Nairobi County, because that is where our focus is this particular morning, is talking about the cases of gender-based violence. According to the Kenya Health Information System, in Nairobi County alone in 2021, we recorded about 3,716 cases between January and June. And in 2020, the cases were at 3,450. In 2019, at least 2,023 cases were reported. In 2018, 2,357 cases. And of course, I can go on and on. But one thing that stood out for me from this data from the Kenya Health Information System is how there has been a surge, Mheshimiwa, in the cases of gender-based violence from 2016 to 2021. Every year we keep on recording higher cases, and recently we had stakeholders and experts even saying that the COVID-19 pandemic actually even led to a ballooning of this, an explosion of these cases of gender-based violence. Probably talk to us about what you read from this trend. What does it tell us about the gender-based violence status in the country?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the invite. It's important for us to know that there has been a surge since COVID-19, and which started in 2020 around March. I think it had been there a while, but we hadn't discovered it until just around 2020 March. From that time on, there was a lock-in, and this lock-in means people who normally go outside of their houses, they are suddenly in the house. They are locked within, the men and the women and the children. And what happens is, when you are locked in, one, the normal routine that you do and you are used to is disrupted. So emotionally you are already disrupted. And then there was, number two, the disruption of emotions and the financial. And this financial means, especially for men, if they are not able to provide for their families, then they are likely also to become violent. And women, when they are not provided for, their mouths become louder. And so that makes the man who is already frustrated because he cannot be able to provide for the family, will now, and then there is a big mouth that is saying, wanaume unakaa tu hapa hatuna hata kitu ya kukula. You know, those kind of things. So it leads to hitting. And what will happen is, there is a cyclic kind of venting of emotions. So the husband will probably hit the wife, and the wife will hit the children, and of course we hear the children will hit the cat and the dog, and so the cycle continues. So it is because of the upheaval that has been caused in the world due to the pandemic, which caused financial strain. Yes.
All right. Thank you for linking the COVID-19 pandemic to this surge in sexual and gender-based violence cases, because many were asking themselves, why did we experience the numbers rising during this season? And I just want us to understand then about the Nairobi City County Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Management Control Bill of 2019, which is being sponsored by Mheshimiwa Wanjiru Kariuki. What is it that is fundamental about this bill? I understand you debated it. There was a session this morning to discuss this bill.
Yes.
Just tell us a little bit about it.
What it is, this sexual violence gender-based bill, it's very, very timely. One, I think we are the first county to kind of pass it in the whole country, and you know, Nairobi always leads, and then the rest of the 46 come in. And so what Honorable Wanjiru has done is a very good thing, and we as the Women Caucus, we have a caucus of women in Nairobi, we support it, and we have a good number of men. In fact, most of our men in the county, they have supported it, and we have passed it. And so the gender-based violence by Wanjiru, let me get my specs on. This gender-based violence by Wanjiru, specifically, it's an act, or we want it to be an act of the County Assembly of Nairobi to provide measures of awareness, prevention and response to sexual and gender-based violence, to provide for protection, treatment, counseling, support care of victims, and for connected purposes. So you see, it's a very comprehensive act. Once it is functional, it will be, and what we are suggesting is each and every sub-county will have a desk where this gender-based violence can be able to be reported. Now, I know we can say that the police already had a desk, but we realize that that desk, because of, not because our police officers are bad necessarily, no, but because they are not yet trained into these things, they went into, let's say, asking the victim what it is, because that's what they are trained for, to investigate, and the victim is getting more traumatized. Are you getting?
Yeah.
So what happened is, instead of it serving the purposes that it was supposed to, it became, it even brought more trauma. And then there were some naughty ones who would say, maybe you were dressed badly or something like that. And that brought more trauma for the people. And so while they were doing their job, we are feeling like we just need to have a county set up in every sub-county. In Nairobi, we set up a desk where this gender-based violence will be reported, and because of this, we will create awareness using that desk, because in the various areas, we will find that that person knows the details of the particular community that they are serving in. We can be able to create awareness with the people. We can be able to prevent. What measures can be used to prevent? Let's say, for example, the measures that will be used to prevent gender-based violence in the upper market may not necessarily be the one that can be used in our areas that are informal settlement. Because in informal settlement with Mabati house, even when the husband is beating the wife next door, the neighbor automatically knows and they can be able to intervene quickly. With our gated communities, we need another way of being able to intervene. So the response to this will be based on gender-based violence. It's therefore the protection of the victim, the treatment of the victim, the counseling sessions, and that means we will be able to link them with the counselors who are well trained, and then the victims will also be given support. And linked along with this gender-based violence that is of Wanjiru, we have the other one that is linked to it, and we are hoping we can have also what we call the safe houses. The motion was done by our Deputy Whip, Honorable Waithera Chege. She's also a member of the Women Caucus, and she set up an objective of a motion that said, and which was passed, the county executive, that is the county government that establishes the policies and so on, established the gender-based violence desk in the well-trained staff at City Hall as the central point, and in all sub-counties to provide for post-trauma care facilities for survivors of sexual gender-based violence in the county. So the two are linked. And then we also went ahead and said that we need safe houses, and these safe houses are supposed to be found also in every sub-county. In every
sub-county.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short. I want us to go step by step, because this is a very fundamental bill we are talking about, and like you say, Nairobi County is going to be leading the pack if this bill is implemented.
Yes.
I just want to understand, first of all, let me take you back to the reporting stage.
Yes.
We have data, and I've just taken you through some that show us, you know, the number of the cases of gender-based violence. But then again, there's this bigger issue of under-reporting.
Yes.
And I want to understand from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest contributor of under-reporting of gender-based violence? Because I have a feeling this is not the true reflection of the situation on the ground. What could be contributing to the silence around SGBV in the country? Yeah.
Even that 3,000 that we have just talked about, 3,016 people, it's an understatement. It's higher. What happens is, when we were in the meeting with the journalists, most of the people who were in that particular meeting where we were presenting this bill, some of the journalists thought that it's more prevalent in the informal settlement than it is in the upper market, and had to correct them that the rich also cry. The fact is this is higher. It's much, much, much higher than we really think. Some of the things that inhibits are a family protection of shame. For instance, there is a lot of incest. And I'm a counseling psychologist. When I talk about this, I'm talking it with authority. There is a lot of incest in our homes. Not just in Nairobi, but Nairobi because we have left our cultural homes where the culture says that you should not sleep with your brother, you should not sleep with your sister. And we have come in Nairobi, and unfortunately, our parents are not taking time. Like I remember my grandmother telling me, you don't sleep with your cousin, you don't sleep with you. You know, they tell you it is a taboo, and they give you the consequences of those taboos, which almost meant you just knew if you ever did it, you are almost as dead. And in our one of our cultures, the Luya culture, for instance, if anybody did incest, actually your house was pulled down by the community and you were chased away. So when we come to the city does not have those norms being safeguarded by the community itself. So people, what they do is we are living carelessly, and sometimes we hold these family parties, and the parents are downstairs taking a drink and enjoying, and the cousins are upstairs. What they don't know that the cousins are also involved in crazy things upstairs, and it has happened in this city. So what we are saying is gender-based, and that is where it is allowed, but gender-based violence is also happening within our homes, whether upmarket or even in our informal settlement. It's happening, and it's on a larger scale, but families keep it because of protecting the name of the family.
Some we come to know, some we don't
some
even
will
know
never
about.
come to know.
Some
Then
of,
secondly, there are also threats from those very people, especially if this gender-based violence is done to children. Children will be told, if you do that, I will kill your mother. If you do that, I will kill you and your brothers and sisters. So this little baby, because loves the family members, they cannot be able to say it, whether it is within the family, and most of the time they are done against by people who are closest to them, either relatives or neighbors who are very well known to them.
All right. This bill seeks to address the gaps in data collection, and it is going to sort of ensure that the data is not just collected about the number of victims, but also in terms of age, in terms of their gender, in terms of their nature of disability, in case they have any. Why is this important to segregate the collection of data and be very specific that when it comes to age, when it comes to whether they are women or they are men, when it comes to whether they are persons with disability or not persons with disability? Why is it important to be very specific when we are collecting this data? What is it going to help us achieve?
It's very, very important for us to have data. And one of the suggestions in this bill is that we are setting up a management committee that will be able, as this is set up, that will coalesce and bring all the information that would have been got from all the sub-counties together, so that we know how to deal with. For instance, in an area that we find that there are more prevalence of gender-based violence than another area. That means we would have to put more resources there. We would have to use preventive. Remember, we don't want to wait until the gender-based violence happens. We want also to put measures of prevention. So in such areas, what we would do is, after we get the data, we would be able to specifically go into prevention, where you meet the youth and give them education. You meet family members, you meet people, you know, you talk, you use the faith, and we have stakeholders. Let me give you some of the stakeholders that we have. The stakeholders in this bill include, and it may add more, but includes police, Office of the Attorney General, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, probation officers and prisons, faith-based organizations, public officials, healthcare providers, counselors, psychologists, civil society organizations, donor communities, media, private sector, community-based, and Council of Elders, traditional elders, and other relevant stakeholders.
So we are form the committee.
Yes, they are not the ones who are forming the committee, but there will be the stakeholders that the committee that will be formed will be able to consult with.
All right.
Those are the people they'll work with. So you see, it's a multi-sectoral forum that will bring together. So if we find that after collecting data, we find that one area is more prevalent with the, let's say, molestation of children, then we bring in more resources that will educate the children themselves on how to go about it, that they should not keep quiet, and, you know, bring in children counselors, go through schools and educate them, bring the parents on board, because parents, in fact, one of the person that is not mentioned here that we added as a stakeholder is a parent. It's already, because we added it as we were talking to the journalists. A parent is a main stakeholder in this, so we bring them on board so that everything that is being done because we have data. If we find that this data points to, let's say, drug abuse in a certain area, then we will focus more on the drug abuse so that we reduce the drug abuse among the teens and the young adults and even the family members, because we are having a lot of alcoholic abuse. And when a person is involved in alcoholism, actually alcohol becomes his wife and children. The other family members are kept off. So when they come in to demand for food, for what upkeep and what, they are seen as intruders in this person's life. So depending on what we will see important, we will go into those areas as to focus in. So data is very important.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for linking data and interventions. They are going to inform the decisions and even budgetary allocations when it comes to the interventions. But then let me also probe you on something you've mentioned about information and education again, on matters SGBV. Who are you targeting, and how are you going to make this practical, and what is going to be the priority areas or thematic areas when passing this information to the target population? Why is this crucial?
Let me just briefly tell you the object and the purpose of this act. It's one, to provide public awareness of the causes, impacts, consequences, and means of prevention and response to sexual and gender-based violence, provide protection for victims. That's why we are having the safe houses and gender-based violence, existing laws and regulations, so that people are aware the consequences of themselves being involved in gender-based violence. And under that is prohibiting harmful cultural traditions. You know, where some people think that if they are being hit, they are being loved by their husband, those kind of, outlawing gender discrimination in all its form, guaranteeing the right of privacy of the individual, ensuring the provisions of minimum packages of health care services, and ensuring the provision of psychosocial support, and including guidance and counseling, and then guaranteeing availability of safe houses and shelters. And this one we said also, these shelters and safe houses should not just be for women. I know right now I am in Nairobi County because of women, gender, you know, because the women were the minority. But there'll be a time also when men can be a minority in a house, so we need to take care. But what specifically this bill is looking, now which is becoming an act, is looking for, we need also, we said that we are providing about 17 safe houses, and we said specifically that we would like at least 2 or 3 safe houses that will specifically cater for men. What we are doing in our society, we are thinking that it's only women who are being battered, it's only children, or, you know, but there are men who are suffering under women, whom I have already said, who when they come home and they are also maybe drunk, or they have just been with the friends, they are battered. So we also need safe shelters for men as well. So we shouldn't just look at the women. And in these safe houses, what we have also said is that as the committee is formed, if, let's say, for example, I am having gender-based violence in Kibera and there's a safe house in Kibera, we don't want for that person to just be taken to the safe house in Kibera. Remember, there are 17 of them. So we must play around with wisdom, because especially when it's marital and the things that are involved with love are very emotional, and somebody can still come, they won't even mind their life, they can still come and attack the people in the safe house.
So you protect the victim.
So you protect the victim by taking them to another safe house. Even, let's say, for example, they can come from Kibera and they're taken to Kasarani or Kayole, you know. That is safe, and it should not be known where they have really been taken. So that is the meaning of those safe houses. And then the positive address and to seek to eradicate conditions that aggravate sexual and gender-based violence, and then support facility gatherings of the segregation, which we have already talked about, and establish clear reporting referral cases. And then in this, we are also looking how we can be able to provide, when they are in these safe houses, they are just not staying there. They are also probably being helped, because you need to empower people economically if they are going to come out. For instance, a mother who has got, let's say, 4 children, she doesn't work, she relies on this person. Even if the person, she doesn't know where to go with this kid, so she will be able to be forced to stay in that house. But when she's in that safe house and she's empowered to economically to start up a business, to start something, or even a career. Let's say, for example, if they needed to go to become teachers or what, they can be helped to do early childhood. Then you have empowered.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm taking you a bit fast on this.
It's very good. It's okay.
Yeah, but these safe houses,
yes,
the proposal is to have them in every sub-county.
Yes.
And you've touched on something very important, that among the 17 safe houses in the sub-counties, at least there should be some that are set aside for men.
Yes.
In terms of facilitation and making it practical budget-wise, where are we, and how do you propose to fund the setting up of these safe houses?
The funding is already provided for in the Act.
All right.
Yeah. In fact, as we talk, I think there is already on Major General Mbadi, I think he has already constructed one. Yeah, we are yet to set it going, but there is already one. So we have the blessings of the county executive government, and we have also the blessing of Honorable Mbadi. It's something that is viable. It's something that we have found. Remember, we have the Department of Gender in both of these two, and they are checking out, so they are on the ground. And we have a gender-based gender department in the executive of the county of Nairobi, and we have also somebody who's taking care of gender issues in NMS. So they have the figures from the ground, and so the money will be catered for, it will be budgeted for in our coming budget, and it will be set aside for this specific issue.
For them who could be having fears that this is a beautiful promise, and it looks very good on paper, but sustaining it, will we be having a conversation, say 3 years from now, Mheshimiwa, with your team, and looking at the gains we've made and the progress we've made, or it will just be another piece of legislation that will be shelved, like what we've had before? We have several laws that safeguard the rights of women in this country, but they're just rotting somewhere.
It's something that is already, I have already told you, as this is being set up, there is already a safe house that is being built. And remember, I cannot tell you where the safe house is. And most probably even that one.
I was just about to ask you.
Exactly. It will not be said where it is, and we have also agreed, we will even not put the county government of Nairobi with its logo, safe house, no. It has to just look like an ordinary place where some people are there, they are sitting. Maybe people who live in the locality may come to discover, but it should be as safe as possible. It must not expose. This is the safe house, so that also when people see you getting in, they know you have already been abused, and people will be scared of getting in because of the trauma, the stigma associated with it. So it is already being functionalized, and we as women leaders and women leaders in the county government of Nairobi, we have already set, and we have our governor, Honorable Kananu, who is really for women. We are going to make sure that it is implemented.
All right.
And remember, also among the stakeholders, we have the donors. So the donor community also, with the gender-based violence, they are also very friendly. There are communities and the United Nations for women and wherever, the USAID, we are welcoming all those donors so that they can help us to functionalize this well. And I know it will succeed. Yes.
Just to take you back, having such safe houses, how is it going to change the narrative in the eradication of SGBV cases in the country? We've not had that before. In fact, it's just now that we are starting to shift in that direction. What is the value add in this war?
What it is going to change is people can also be able to break off from toxic relationship, knowing that they can be able to be taken care in other places. As we have already said, there is already strain on people economically. So sometimes when a woman or a man would like to break off from this toxic relationship, they just look like, where am I going with the children? Where am I going? Who will take care of me? And that kind of a thing. But if they know they can break off from this toxic relationship, and there is a place where they can safely be helped, be nurtured, be counseled, so that they go back and even be given some economic upliftment, then the people will be able to come out. And as leaders come out, and I see there are quite a number of people who have come up, including yesterday, I think I was watching one of, I think it is a diaspora, it is called Diaspora, it's a YouTube channel, mainly in the Kikuyu language. There was a pastor coming out and saying he was in an abusive relationship. You see, abuse is not just physical. You can be in an abusive relationship where this person even brings another woman in your matrimonial bed, and you are there and you're told to go and sleep in the sitting room. That is abuse. He may not touch you physically because he knows you will run to the police station. But emotional abuse of that kind after a long time, it becomes extremely serious.
All right.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, I know you can go on and on about this, but it's a conversation that we hope to pick up in the near future.
Yeah.
I want us to wind up on that note. Give us your final remarks. The bill has just, you know, it's turning into an act, gathering from what you're telling us. What's the way forward? What do you tell residents of Nairobi County?
The residents of Nairobi County, what I want you to do is know that there is a place you can be able to run to. We are working on it. It will be there. If you are in a toxic, abusive relationship, please don't keep it to yourself. Be able to talk to somebody, be able to talk to another person that can be able to help you emotionally, because this is also being, this emotional instability is also being linked to a lot of the suicide that we are having within the city and within the country. And so when you have an issue, please talk to somebody. And as we set up these desks, please go ahead and encourage any person, yourself or any other person that has got gender-based violence, to go and report. It will be taken confidentially, and you will be helped, treated, and then be uplifted and be protected in the safe homes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, and all the best in this journey to seeing the true realization of this particular piece of legislation. I've been engaging Honorable Mary Ariviza Mwami, a nominated member of County Assembly in Nairobi. We have been talking about the Nairobi City County Sexual and Gender-Based Management Control Bill of 2019, sponsored by Mheshimiwa Wanjiru Kariuki. Of course, it's a matter of wait and see, and wait for the fruits that will come from this particular bill. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. We are winding up, but we are paving way for the Swahili version of the program. We're going to be having Kurunzi Mashinani shortly, and then we will have Tamrini. Do stay for that and much more.